little closer here. It's Mikhail from Yahweh Games, and what we're going to go over today is how to texture a 350 poly model. I'm not going to go into great detail. I don't know how much of this I'm actually going to do, but this is a model I started a while back, and this is what I usually go over with when I teach my 101 students, you know, how to actually model something and what to expect. So as you can see in the pelvic area, you know, I've got very minimal edge loops on this guy. Whoops. Yeah, grab my mouse. I usually use a mouse and a Wacom pen. Okay, so very minimal edge loops. I've got one edge loop, two edge loops, three really for the pelvis. It looks like my big arm hit the button. My bad. Let's put that over there. All right. I've got only two edge loops over here for the thigh meeting the pelvis. I've got two over here for the knee. I actually have 2.5 for the elbow. So, you know, the part of the challenge was, you know, can you do this? Can you make a character with just such minimal edge loops such as this? The answer is yes, you can. I can also add some more edge loops in here if I feel like it. But as you can see, currently I have the upper body selected, so let's select everything else. So this character is 402 polygons. Some things to note about the eyeballs. Let's zoom in over here. The eyes are like the most important aspect of the character. This is where usually everybody looks first. You'll see that there's a lot of pixelation. This is also known as anti-alias. Well, anti-alias comes from the 3D mesh when you start reading it off the video card in that way, but that's my bad. Okay, so it's being viewed at 1024. This texture map, I believe, is only a 512 map. Let's check. It's 256, okay? So that's why you can see, you can basically count the pixels. And that's okay. You know, when viewed on something like an old school Game Boy, you know, you're looking at the character from this far away. You never get that close. I mean, look, just take into consideration the size of your monitor and take into consideration the size of your phone. Like, and you know, you can do that. You can take your phone and hold it up next to your model, and you can say, okay, well, you know, right, I'm gonna hold my phone up right next to my model. You can't see it, but you know, this is about as close as I'll ever see it. You'll never, you know, I can't see that pixelation in the eyes, but I can see some of the detail in the eyeballs, which is kind of popping right now. And I can definitely see the detail in his coils in his thighs, right? So don't be afraid that you get to see some pixels here, okay? Don't be afraid of that. So let's take a look at the unwrap, and we'll go over some very basic details regarding the unwrap. So I have this one piece selected, right? There's no unwrap on the other stuff. So let's get rid of this unwrap. And let's select all of this. And let's go ahead and put an unwrap on this. And let's skip this track because that's going to get annoying. There we go. So if we do an open editor, you can see how it's laid out. Okay, let's turn the grid off so you can see this. I have this chunk right here in the middle. This is actually the back of the character, and you can see I've got some UV overlap happening over here so that the back of the character is stacked. Front of the character is being done the same exact way. All right, and I also have the top of the character and the side of the character being stitched together. All right, there are newer techniques that you don't have to do this. You can just have it next to itself, and it'll actually work out just as fine. Okay, this is the leg, and you know, I have one leg, two legs stacked and overlapped on top of itself. It looks like I actually have these inverted as well, which is a no-no, and this is just something I haven't checked in a couple years. So you got even the inside, the foot's inside out. See, the arm's the same way. Yeah, everything's inside out. I wonder if the mesh itself is inside out. Let's go ahead and put an X form on this. Reset X form. Let's reset and collapse this down. And let's just check the geometry. All right, so we're just going to select the whole thing. It looks like the geometry is inside out, which is great. It means I may have actually done the unwrap correctly, so that's where I have to check it again. And you know what? If that's something you have to do a couple times to make sure, that's fine. You know, you can't be afraid of reskinning the character if the character's skinned. Just save the skin and put it back on top once you're done doing the unwrap. Alright, so let's check this again. Let's see what it's doing now. Haha. Okay, so I was correct. You know, you just needed a little love, a little reset of the X-Form. No big deal. Okay, so now, like, how do you go about unwrapping or texturing something like this? Like, this character is actually very straightforward. There's not a whole lot of majestic stuff that I'm doing here. I've got a little bit of reflection going on in the legs, and actually these are reversed, so you know, I can change that in a minute. So let's just go ahead and take a look at these legs for a moment. So I know that in Photoshop, right over here is where my leg information is being handled. All right, so let's find out, do I have actually, okay, that's all in here. I must have some stuff named. Okay, so here is the cannon. Here is the arm. I don't know what this is yet. Fan blade. Some color bleed on the fan blade on the chest. Okay, so this is about the time where I just start hiding stuff. It may be that I just started painting right on the geometry. Yep, I started painting right on it itself. All I did was come over here to this layer, and I just started painting right on this layer. So let's just take a look at exactly what's happening. And what I did was I made this wireframe texture. Okay, this is a wireframe texture. This represents the wireframe of my actual geometry. So let's look at actually how I made this. So if you look at this character, you'll notice I have a wireframe here. Right, I have a UVW unwrap, or unwrap UVW, I'm sorry. Turned off normalize, I turned off the ignore back facing, and then right click, and then you do render UVW template. And then I change this to 256 because that's the texture size, and I hit render. Right now what I've done is I've converted this 3D to 2D generated geometry now over here to a texture map. So I just save this. I can save it wherever I want to, and then I just opened it inside of Photoshop. All right, here we go. I open it and it looks like this. All right, it looks just like that. And then what I did is I just started putting paint on this. I selected the unwrap. Here, I'll even label this UVW unwrap. Okay, you can put it in a folder if you want to, because sometimes there's corrections that you'll do to your unwrap, and I've done this plenty of times. Okay, let's take this off. So on your folder, if you switch this to screen, whatever is underneath this folder, you can actually see, and the lines will not move. For example, let's turn this back on, and I'll put this on here. All right. For example, because I have this wireframe set to screen, okay, I can paint directly on here on this layer and still see my wireframe, and it'll act as a guide for me. It won't be 100% perfect, but it will be really, really, really close, and you have to be okay with it being close. So, so what are some things that we can do from this step? All right. So I said we're going to do the leg. So let's come over here and look at the leg. All right. And we'll go ahead and make a new folder, and I'll call this leg. Actually, specifically, we'll call it calf. How about we do that? All right. And I'll just actually go ahead and start this whole area over. So what I'll do is I'll just start from here. All right, and I'm gonna give it a little bit of a pixel buffering. So I'm gonna go ahead and give one more pixel over here on this side, and I'll just go ahead and go to the bottom. Right, and then so I'll just hit I for my eyedropper. Okay, I'll select this here, make a new layer, and we'll do edit fill. All right, so there we go. Now it's a solid color. Now what I want to do is I think I want to mix this up a little bit. You'll notice that over here I've got this gradient of pixels that is happening. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit G on my keyboard and it'll bring up my gradient tool. And what I want to do is I want to go from a darker yellow to a brighter yellow. So let's go ahead and, I don't want white here, but I am going to select this lemon yellow, okay? And then this yellow is actually important to me, all right? So let's move it over here more to an F2, all right? And then let's move this over to more of an F3. Now, dark yellow is rough, and I suggest actually looking up maybe color.com. All right, so this is how you go and find the right color wheel for yourself. What's going on here? Adobe Color. Maybe they, yeah, they must have taken that down. It used to be called Color, K-U-L-E-R. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and play with correct colors here. So I know this particular yellow is the one that I really want to use. So if I select it, I open this up, it gives me a hexadecimal code right here, this hashtag. So I'm going to hit Control-C right here, and I'm going to paste it in this middle wheel. I'm going to click on this color. I'm going to paste it right here. Enter. There we go. There's my yellow colors right here. And right here, these are actually some good shades to use. All right, you can, now for those of you who've never really used Adobe Color before, you can come over here and switch off. You can go monochromatic and get some other shades of yellow. You can do triad, you can do complementary, and so actually these are pretty good too. All right, and you can do compound, you can do shades, and of course custom. Okay, so which one of these fits my needs best? I kind of like this sunflower yellow over here, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab this hexadecimal code. If I can get in there, hopefully it'll work. And just make sure I actually got the right one. Okay, it did work. All right, so let's come over here to this darker tone over here on the side. Let's paste that in there, and as you can see, it's showing me a gradient of this sunflower yellow to this bright lemon yellow. And to be honest, it might be better if I put it over here in the middle. And let's go something maybe a little different. So let's recopy the hexadecimal code. Okay, let's go back over here now, selecting this, pasting this in, and checking this. You know, F3 is somewhere around over here. So if anybody who's ever learned from me before, I use the field color method when I do my shading. We do F1, F2, F3. F1 is F2 is usually where we live. That's our mid-tone. F1 is a little bit brighter. F3 is a little bit darker. We never go black because that's what the physical 3D light is for. And we never go bright over here 100% because this is what the material's for. Right now we're kind of, no offense, but we're looking at diarrhea yellow. That's not a good color for him. Maybe we can desaturate it a bit and maybe make it feel a little bit more Goldilocks. So yeah, that might actually be a little bit better if we bring it down into the orange a little bit more. That might work. Yeah, that actually doesn't look too bad. So let's go ahead and make a gradient and see what this is. So what we're going to do is do File, Save As, all right? And we're going to go change this to a Targa. I have this in the 256 folder. Oh, maybe I'm using a JPEG. Let's see what I'm doing. Yeah, I was using a JPEG. They do exactly the same thing. As a matter of fact, the Slate editor is more common with the newer versions of Unreal and Unity, so and it's also very common in Maya. So you do what's so comfortable for you. I'm gonna do what's comfortable for me, and we'll kind of meet in the middle somewhere. Okay, but what's important is you select the material, you assign it using the assign button. Now, if I don't have anything selected, I can't obviously assign it. The button's gone. So I have to make sure that I select the thing I want, hit the assign button, all right, go to the diffuse color, select the empty blank slot, and actually it'll look like this. Okay, so there's more than one way to do it. You can hit this button here, which is diffuse. There's a little box right here, or you can hit diffuse color here. It goes to the same, excuse me, same exact place. So I'm gonna go bitmap. All right, I'm gonna go find my bitmap, which is in this folder here. All right, and it's in 256. So there's my texture. I hit open, and then there's this little button right here, show shaded material in viewport. So when I press it, voila, now I can see exactly what's happening. All right, so that's the first step, is getting that gradient in for me. All right, and typically, you know, we can do the arms the same way because we have this yellow selected already. We can do the fan the same way. We can do the arm cannon. We can do the toes. All right, so feel free to get your gradient on. All right, so let's go ahead and do the toes next, since we're already kind of living there. And you'll notice that, well, you know, when I first started, my character had textures on the arms, and it's only they're not working because they're currently off in Photoshop right now. All we're dealing with is pretty much the feet, and that's all I really care about. So let's turn our wireframe back on. All right, and by the way, let me show you something else. If I do File, Save As right here, and whoops, what did I just do? That was very funky. Somehow my mouse turned my gradient off. Oh, I turned everything else back on. That was very weird. What did I do? Revert? I must have reverted. I did revert. I don't know how that happened. Freaking Photoshop. Okay, sorry about that. Let's try that again. Because my wireframe texture's on, if I do File, Save As, oh, I see what I did. There's a revert button right there. Naughty, naughty. If I do JPEG, if I save and I overwrite with the wireframe texture on, and I go back into Max, all right, my wireframe's on, but obviously F4 is on and off. I'm toggling it on and off because it's like, what the heck? Why is my wireframe on and my wireframe's not on Max? Look, it's because you saved your wireframe on your texture, so don't do that. All right, so let's do File, Save As again. Let's overwrite this. Let's get it back to where it just was. All right, so here we go. Let's take a look at it inside of Max. All right. And there we go. So, can you do this a lot easier in Substance? Can you do this a lot easier in, what was that program called? 3D Coat. Can you do this easier inside of ZBrush? Absolutely. So why aren't I doing it? This particular lesson is designed for those students or for those individuals who neither can afford it or they can't get their hands on it for whatever reason. So, you know, part of who I am as an individual, I don't like to focus on people what they don't have. I like to focus on what they can have. All right. So by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and paint this in. I'm just going to paint this in with a solid yellow color. All right. And I'm going to use this as a mask very quickly here. I'm just going to paint this in. All right. Repaint. I'm going to make sure there's no holes inside my paint. Okay, we control click the area, and as you can see, I've got this nice yellow. Okay, let's get some over here on the toe corner over here a little bit. All right, no big deal, no big deal. All right, so now that I have that, here's another method in which I can do. So this right here is the toe geometry. So let's go ahead and turn that off. We'll leave it on. All right, and then what we can do is we can go to this effects panel, and we can do gradient overlay. And what we can do is we can go back to our gradient that we just had. That seems to have gone away. Boo! And you know what? I didn't save it. So even more boos. So how do we get that back? No problem, mate. So here's a couple things we can do. Hit G. Oh, there it is. It saved it here, but it didn't save it in the effects panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit new. And there it is. There's my gradient right there. Because I already have my darker, my mid, and my light. That'll work for me. Okay, so now if I go to the effects panel and I do gradient overlay, as you can see over here now, I can drop this down, and there it is. Okay, but before I do anything else, I need to view what I'm doing. Okay, so there's my gradient. And it's actually not too shabby. I don't mind it too much. Like it's actually kind of sort of doing what I want it to do. All right, but I think I want a little bit more control. So maybe I'll spread out the love a little bit and change my scale factor. And I can brighten it or darken it however I want to. Like this actually doesn't seem too bad right here. It's 126, 120%. All right, it's not too bad. But I'm also going to go ahead and add my own flare to this. So I'm going to do B for brush. All right, and I have my bright lemon yellow, right? Oh, no, I don't. So let's go back to Adobe Color, which is this right here. Let's grab this. All right, let's see if I can paste that in there. Nope, we didn't do that. All right, Control A, Control C, Control B. There you go. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to start painting right here. And I'm just going to brighten it up, brighten the edges up just a little bit. I'm trying to stay above the white line because this is the piece of geometry that I want, is this plane, P-L-A-N-E, right? And let's turn the wireframe off and see what that looks like. It's not too bad. So let's just drag this down just a little bit, kind of give it some nice colorage, right? And then of course a little bit of bright yellow over here. I'm actually leaving some pixels of the darker color there. I'm just kind of brightening up the toes just a little bit. Might use my smudge tool. Where are you, smudge tool? Where did you go? Oh, it looks like it did that thing again where my tools got hidden and collapsed down. I'll have to deal with that later. I don't know why my Photoshop was acting a fool today. It knew I was going to be going live on Twitch, and therefore I had to do something. All right, let me check and see if I got any messages happening. I thought I had Twitch up. Oh, let's look at it here. Audio's starting to cut out for good 15 seconds at a time. Is that true? This isn't good. Oh, okay, it's good now. Very good. Thank you, Javi. All right. Thanks for letting me know. Sorry for checking late. Okay, so that is the toe. So let's see what it looks like now, you know, inside the character. So I'm going to go ahead and smudge this a little bit more, I think. You know, I'm just trying to blend this back in, kind of blur out the gradient. All right. I really like how this is looking over here. It's really pretty. All right. And, you know, you can add a little bit of white. So if I actually switch over to white, I don't have to use 100% bright white, but I can actually, like, ping the corners here. So I'm at strength 20%. Let's do 100. Oh, that's at smudge. My bad. Let's keep the smudge low. Let's go put it back at 22. Okay, so I want B for brush. All right, so I put a little bit of white here on the corners. All right, just to kind of blend it back in. Now this is what we consider our F1 HL blend. So again, I'm losing my smudge tool. Just not happy with how Photoshop's performing today. All right, so here we go, just like this. And I'm not going 100% white. So if I did actually a color range selection right now, even though it's telling me this is 100% white at 255, if I check it, right, it's actually not white. And that's what I want. I want to stay away from white as much as I can. The reason being is because I want my material to do the work for me. So let's go ahead and check this out. File, save as. All right, let's go ahead and do another JPEG. 256. Let's go ahead and look at this. Hit OK. So let's look at it. Look at the toes. All right, look at that. Super cool. All right, so now how do we blend the toes in with the geometry over here, because this is kind of a harsh transition, you know? I mean, it's going in from something harsh it just doesn't look nice. I mean, even if we zoom out, all right, if we zoom out, right, because like if the character is only going to be this big, we have to know what are we dealing with. It's coming to that point. Well, one of the things we can do is we don't have to darken it up so much over here on this edge. But another thing we can do is we can hit the eyedropper tool or eye on the keyboard and simply pick this color right here. And we can go and find our wireframe and look at our geometry, and we know that the connection point is going to be right through here. So let's find out what if we hit F4, if we zoom in on this, how many edge loops we get on this piece. Okay, so we do get an edge loop in here. So that means if we paint this darker color in these areas, we should get some kind of decent effect. We might be able to blend this together. So I'm actually going to stay on the same layer. I'm going to stay on this layer right here, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint. Excuse me, I'm going to paint right here in this area, this darker color. And hopefully I can get a good match. And I'm going 100%, all right? I'm going 100% right here. And this is going to be my first step. I just want to see what the result is going to be. All right. I'm also going to turn the wire off because I want to see what kind of shape I'm getting. All right. And I think that's okay for now. Let's go ahead and see what that's going to do. Let's do Control-Shift-S. Now, of course, it's going to give me a very dark area right there. But then we go back and we blend it in. But I at least want you guys to see exactly what's happening. So there we go. All right. So now if I zoom out, so turn F4 off. I zoom out all the way out. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. See, now it's even worse, right? And that's not what we want. But that's just the first step. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our blur tool. Blend it in. Well, the audio's been out because my my damn earplugs have been hit the mute button, and I didn't even realize that. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, guys. Stupid. My god. All right. What an amateur video hour this is turning out to be today. I'm sorry, guys. That's some funny shit. Alright, so somehow this gradient got screwed up. It didn't record it. Let's go and make sure we're on the right layer. That's funny. I don't know why this got messed up. It was probably because when we were working last time and the file closed on me, it probably didn't record this step. Alright. Let's go ahead and check that out. Alright, let's go check it again. Which means I need to grab this color here, pepper this in, and blend it, right? Because that's what happened last time. Let's check it over here. Find out if that's true for the other one too. Yeah, it is. All right, let's try that again. Thanks for welcoming me back. Alright, let's check it in back in here. There we go. I think we're all back to normal now, guys. Okay, so now, what about this darker color? What can we do with this? Well, seeing as I was a schmuck, and I painted this great gradient, this really nice work that I did over here, put some really hard work into this, on the same area as this, it's going to be a little bit difficult to separate. But nonetheless, it can be separated, so let's just go ahead and separate it out. Alright. Basically, I'm going to hit Control J over here. Control J-ing a selection will allow me to duplicate that area. Alright. And then, seeing as that this is its own thing now, if I just re-smudge this, okay, that wasn't so bad of a chore. Alright, let's hide it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to erase it out of this side. So now I have both on two different layers. Your smudge. Okay. So let's also check up here and find out if this is also on the same layer. Yeah, I don't want this on the same layer either, and you'll see why. Hit Control J on this area. Alright. Ooh, it actually kind of looks nice duplicated. So where are we at here? I think this layer and this layer, they can be collapsed down. So I'm going to Control J one more time just to brighten that up. We'll merge all of this together. Merge layers. So we have this. Nicey nice. Alright, and then this over here, of course, we've got to erase this. So let's just do a marquee and hit delete. Alright, so here's this gradient that we have. So now let's see what happens if we hit multiply. So now what we're doing is we're using the best of both worlds. We're using the best of the color that we used for the gradient here, and plus we're using the gradient that was actually naturally done. Let's reincorporate our original area, and let's see what this looks like. It's probably going to look really nice because we probably can darken it up some more, and I'm not going to be afraid to do that. Give it some nice opposing contrast colors. Let's see what happens there. Yeah, so not enough, so let's keep going. So let's just duplicate it one more time. Control J. This is, oh, selection area is empty, so Control J again. There we go. Let's try that. Alright. Let's check it. And there we go. See? It's coming along nicely. Right there. Alright. So now, why is this area still not dark enough? And my guess is this has to be moved over 1 pixel. Let's move it over because it's Krabby Patty, which means the one underneath it's got to get moved over too. All right, let's check it. There we go. Much better. So now if we look at this from far away, as a low poly model should be looked at from far away, you can see we have some nice gradients happening. So I'm also going to check my unwrap here. So this area is acting up to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this whole area, this darker area. I'm also going to merge this down. Let's go ahead and merge that down. Okay. And run an eraser tool vertically. And I'm going to get rid of... Oh, I'm going to put a little bit of a feather on this brush. Instead of using a hard brush, let's go soft. Just erase that. Is it not? Alright, let's try that. Alright, and make sure it's not encroaching on the other side of this poly. Alright, let's look at this now. Make sure we have a distinction between the front and the side. Yes. There we go. And then this area over here is bothering me a lot too. And that's happening because of the layer above it. Right? So let's get rid of you. Okay, so what else can we do? Well, about this time is typically where I start trying to paint some reflections in. Now, I understand very clearly that reflections are something that is handled by a material. And the way that I understand low poly information is you don't get to have materials, guys. So let's just be really clear on that. You know, if you're working on PS4 or something, then that's a different story. That's completely different. By the way, I'm just controlling that that gradient a little bit. Let's recheck it. Make sure I didn't do too much there. There, that's much better. Alrighty. Yes, sir. And let's control this. Let's push this down a little bit. Maybe I can get that a little bit cleaner. I'm just trying to get it back to where it was before we crashed. You know, I like recording the crashes because like this happens in real life and people need to know how to overcome this stuff. Okay, so just like this darker area here, I'm going to get that darker area right there on the toe. Except I'm not going to use a multiply. I'm just going to take this color because it's working. And we're just going to paint this right in. Alright, let's just paint it right in over here. And maybe smudge this up a little bit. And just give it some opposing contrast in the toe. So it looks a little different than the other sections. And to be honest, I need to brighten up that area. You should have 3 sides that are opposing in color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that and I'm going to go ahead and just pepper this in just like this and then smudge it down. Just like that. Just a little something different. Okay, now if I look at it, hopefully I didn't paint the wrong poly sides, which I'm fairly certain I'm okay. Let's go ahead and check it out. There we go. So I got a darker toe in there and a brighter toe out here. Okay. So now if I look at it from the far back, and I think what I'm going to do too, even more, I'm going to grab some of this blue and I'm going to overlay it on the top of this we're gonna grab a new layer at this point, and I'm gonna go ahead and paint it just like this. All right, I'm gonna smudge it together. Now, why on earth would I be doing this? Obviously, there's no blue in that area, but you know, I like to work on tie-in colors, and this was something that one of my mentors, Marco Guerra, taught me about tie-in colors. Okay, Marco is an amazing 2D artist. Let's just do some filtering here and see if we can get some, see like that right there, a little bright blue. What else can we get? That's not too bad. Linear dodge. I like that hue. Let's just back off the opacity a little bit. I like that hue. Okay, let's go with that. Now I did see something else that I did favor, so we're gonna paint this over here. All right, we'll smudge that in. All right, and we're just gonna run this blending modes. Overlay, lighter color maybe. Soft light. See how we're getting 3 distinct areas, 4 now? Let's see what this looks like all together. Alright. Yeah, we're spending a lot of time on the toes. I get it. There we go. Yeah, yeah. And then we can back off from the blue closer to the to the calf. So where's that? Right here. So let's do E for erase and just bring some of this yellow back in. All right, now we're getting a gradient again. Blend this all in. Okay, blend it, blend it, blend it. Maybe something like that. All right. And what about this area over here? What can I do to darken that area up? So let's grab an even darker tone. This is real true F3 right here, baby. Right? And I'm going to need my guidance, so let's turn on our wireframe. And just get a nice dark line right through there at the bottom. Let's just frame this up a little bit. Being very, very light on this side. I don't want to overpower it because I don't want it to match. That might be as much as I want on that side there. This side I'm okay with. This side is looking nice so far. I'm reframing this up. So I actually have some really healthy contrast happening. Let's check it. Let's see what it looks like. Hopefully I didn't wreck it. And we'll do the same thing for the inner shadow on the calf muscle. Very good. Just go one layer down, one other pixel down, tie it all together. Okay, and then we'll blend it up. There we go. And we'll do the same thing over here. Let's go ahead and grab a new gradient. I'm making a new layer. I'm going to go from the bottom of the floor to about here. And this time for my gradient, I'm going to use an opacity gradient. So basically it's not this one, it's this one here. Okay, I'm using that same darker color from before. And that's actually not too bad, but we also want to make sure that we're only staying in this area. So I'm just going to hit Control J. Basically, you know, this layer here, we've already made this. So if I control click it, it'll give me the selection tool. So if I hit Control J on this, it's only going to do that much. So that means I can get rid of everything else. I can go ahead and you know, erase what I don't want here. About there. So this way you can see that there's a distinct gradient happening here. And for whatever reason, I still can't. Oh, you know what? Okay, there we go. That's better. Let's just see what happens when I do that. Excuse me. Okay. Beauteous. I'm starting to get my gradient back in here again. Okay. And that's what I want. So I'm actually going to go ahead and, with this layer selected, I think I'm going to stretch it. Just pull it up a little bit higher. And with that said, let's move it down. And let's go ahead and take off some of it from the top. Just do the eraser tool and just make a little bit of this disappear up top. Not a lot, maybe knock this down to 20% and just cut it. So this way it feels like a more of a natural gradient here. Do another JPEG. Paint this over here like this. And see, there we go. There's my gradient again. And I think for the most part, them feeties are done. Let's look at it from back here. I think what I'm going to do for the toes, one last thing, I'm going to sharpen up the blur on the edges a little bit. So let's go ahead and select this layer here. Let's go ahead and erase some of the blend because I want that bright yellow to take over. So I'm just sharpening up this area, and let's see what happens. Maybe I can get a better transition. Another JPEG. This is just me being a little too anal with this, but that looks cool, and it's still not 100% what I was looking to do. So you know what I can do? I can... let's just go for it. Just make another layer real quick. Just paint this right on top. And I'm painting next to a highlight. Okay. And this will help me sharpen up and help the eye choose a direction in how these gradients are going to be applied. I don't like this area here. So that one pixel was throwing it off. Now this is these habits are coming back from my Dragon Ball days when I worked on Dragon Ball a while back. There we go. Let's try that. Pixels matter. Every pixel counts. There. And you know, this, just the eye kind of breaks that up a little bit, and that might be too dark on the toe, but it is correct on the inside of the toe. So, you know, no fear. Just go back, clean it up. It's all got to make sense. There we go. Yeah, baby. Okay. I think they're done. That was like, what, 40 minutes on doing that? On just the feet? How long I've been running for? Hour and 14 minutes just on legs and feet. Oh my god, I'd get crushed in the game industry for doing something like that. But you know what? It looks good. So, you know what? Again, you know, I've got other tools that'll do this, but I have to show you guys. I feel like it's in me. I have to show you guys that this can be done without super expensive program, but it's going to be at the cost of your time. All right? That's where all of this is going to come from. Okay, so let's zoom out. Let's start putting some of these layers back on. All right, so this is the calf and feet. Of course, not in Hebrew because it always wants to be in Hebrew. Feet. All right, I don't like the way this calf transition is happening, so I'm gonna go ahead and repaint over that too. Just grab some of my sunflower yellow, which I'm really pleased with. We'll just paint that right over top of this. That'll help. So now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to make some good transition choices. Alright, that actually doesn't look too bad. And then of course my bright fun yellow here. Let's go ahead and just paint that in. Both sides here. Take the edge off, haha. Okay. So now what about the gradient for the coil section of his legs? Should we do 3 coils? Should we go with 4 coils? Let's go look at the wireframe. Let's see what's happening here. So it looks like, let's just collapse this down. Let's also see what it looks like when you turn everything else back on. Okay, so it looks like I did change it up to 4 coils. All right, let's find out where this was. Right here. So this is just do G. This is going to be thighs. Alright, let's turn this off. Let's go look at the whole thing now. Because it may be that it works, but it might be so muddy that it's just not being, the eye's not picking it up. So let's just look at it. What is that? Excuse me. Oh, that's my color palette that I was using. Dope sauce. Alright. So, the thigh is this darker bluish black color. Alright. This pelvis area. But I should have some concept art in here. Okay, apparently it's not in... Oh, the reference. So let's look at what's going on with some Airman stuff. So, you gotta watch what's fan art and what's official art. That's actually official. And I should have a character board. That's official. So his quote-unquote pants are the same color. And so he's got these coils in his arms. And I put them in his legs too, just to kind of carry it over for some consistency. And as you can see too, I actually made the artistic decision not to go too bright. So when you zoom out on the character, it's there, but it's like it's not something that's overpowering. And then if I put it on the arms, which it should be on the arms already. Yeah, I've already put it on the arms. I'm actually going to make that brighter, but we're not there yet. I kind of want to focus on the pants right now for a moment. I don't have to put a gradient in there, and plus I'm going to turn off this ambient occlusion. I don't have to put a gradient on the pants. It's not something I have to do. It's not requiring it. Now, also, I also want to bring to your attention, these are darker colors than this is over here. Let's go ahead and resave this out. Let's check out the coils on the arms. Let's check it out. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brighten the coils on the arms a little bit. So I'm going to actually bring this drawing into my Photoshop. So reference board. All right, let's bring it into Photoshop. I'm going to hit. Now, if I zoom in over here, I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's a lot of pixelation going on here. That's because this was scanned from a drawing. All right. And so now what I can do is I can fix this a little bit by doing filter, noise, median, and I can blur it up just a little bit and see, I can find a good color palette right here. And that's the color I'm going to use for the arms. So let's go find out where the arms are. Oh, you know what? Might have been the thing where I painted it right on again. Nope, I didn't. Arm Canon. There it is. Arm R. So here's my colors. Now I'm going to actually grab this base and I'm going to do an edit fill right here. Shift F5 or edit fill. Okay, now what I mean is edit fill that. Okay, so let's put this back on top. And as you can see, it did brighten it. So, whoops. I should have made it a different layer. I want you to see a before and after. Okay. See that? Makes a little bit of a difference. Not too much though. So what I can do is I can put it on top and I can try doing some blend mode stuff because sometimes you get good ideas from it. Let's see what this is. A good color dodge, it brightened it right up. I'm staying within the color palette terms too. I think that's what we're going to use. Let's just go with that. Color dodge. Okay. Let's save this. Control Shift S. Okay. Let's go back into this. Yes, yes, yes. Okie dokie. Let's see what happens now. So I got a brighter coils on his arms. Okay, so as I zoom out, I can see him a little bit better. Okay, but you know what? We can just take it a step further. Because we're in the arms folder, if we do layer, new adjustment layer, and do a levels, we can push up the blacks and make them a little darker and really bring up the lights. Let's do something like that, see what happens. Might get a bit dangerous. Okay. So you can definitely see him. But is it too much now? Let's put that contrast back in it. Alright. Make my darks darks and my lights lights. And I'm noticing the pattern, there's a gap in here. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 2, 2, 2, 4, 2, 2. So like that's not good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this. And I'm just going to go ahead and move it down. One. Oh, there we go. And then, so now what I can do is I can copy this, and I might be able to get one more pattern up towards the top, which would actually finish it off a little bit easier. Yep, let's go with that. Let's just see what happens there. See, it's pretty bright. I don't mind it too much. Kind of matches the vents on his face too, but it kind of looks like he's wearing like a jail shirt, prison shirt. So let's just darken it up just a little bit. We can do that by cutting the opacity down on the levels. Basically, it takes the edge off. All right, let's try that. That actually will probably call it a day on the arms. So then we can focus on getting the cannon done. There we go. Can totally see it, and it's dark enough. Okay, so let's get the cannon done. So let's look at the AO. Okay, look. See this darker area right here? This is showing me that it's closer to this cannon area. Excuse me. So, excuse me. All right, so now I need the gradient. Let's go to, oh, you know what I never did is I never polished the bottom of the boot off. But you know what? You can do that on your own. You can do that. That's probably really easy for you to do. So I'm just going to let you do it. Now this area over here is the cannon. This is the important part. So let's go ahead and go grab the cannon. All right. Control click this. Let's remove this area because we don't want to deal with that right now. We're going to go move to a gradient. We're going to hit G. Now I'm going to show you a new gradient type. So if I switch over to our type that we saved, now it should be over here. Oh, what? Of course it didn't save. Or is that it? I don't remember saving these guys here. How freaky. Man, whatever. Let's just go with this. Alright, so if I go like this, right, it doesn't match. Oh, and we also need to make sure that we rid ourselves of that. Okay, so it doesn't match. Why? Because the bottom of the gradient doesn't match the top one. So what we can do is we can switch it over to this tube type or cylindrical type of gradient, and we can start in the middle and move up. And there we go. So now it'll go from dark to light, right? So now if I try going here, right, it doesn't want to do it. But, there is a way. There is always a better way. So what we can do is we can copy all of this stuff around. So this now is going to be 50%, and we're going to make the same exact pattern again. And this is going to be 25%. 50, okay, and we're going to come over here and select this, drag it to the end. Select this, just put it here, and put it at 75%. Now this, even though we're making a cylindrical gradient, it should give us a double. Oh wait, I have to do it here in the middle. That's right, and I can do a reverse. There we go. Except I actually had it correctly the first time, I believe. Let's just see what happens. Let's look at it. File, save as. More than likely, I think I had it right the first time. In other words, uncheck reverse. Okay, let's check it. But from the front view, it looks amazing. Not too bad. Okay. Let's check the messages real quick. Okay. Alright. So obviously these gradients are not the same. So here's how we can fix that. Let's turn off AO. Hit G for gradient. Alright. And then we can go find and pick our correct colors. I know I still have color.com back on my my web page. Okay, so there's that color. Just grab that hexadecimal code. All right. And so what we can do this one more time. So let's cut this in half again. So half of 25 is 13 or 12, right? Then we got to move this to 25. Let's move this over to, I think this is going to go to 50, right? Yeah, that's what we got to do. We got to do it again. So this is 32, so this is going to be 67. Let me put this one over here, 13. Right, but then I also have to implement the darker tone. Actually, let's just see what happens here, but I'm fairly certain I'm supposed to insert these guys in here like this. Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's try that. Now, of course, this darker color is probably too much, but that can always be fixed. We're just checking right now. And I believe this is the right color pattern that I want for the arm. Yeah, there we go. It's more metallic. And then I'll just reverse it. Oh, do I want it reversed? Actually, kind of like it. All right, so we just have to balance the colors. Color balance is important. So what we'll do is we'll add a gradient on top of this. That's layer 1. So let's just do another one, and we'll just go ahead and save this pattern out too. All right, because we're going to need it. And we'll just get rid of all of this stuff. We're going to need this color gradient, so we'll save this one as well. Okay, so we got both gradients there. And we'll go ahead and gradient it this way. Reverse. Like that. And then we'll do an overlay and see how this works together. What does multiply do? Multiply saturates it too much. Darken kind of balances out a bit. You know what could work too is instead of trying to use a blending mode, just drop the opacity and then drop the opacity on the other one and try to do a 50-50 mix. Sometimes that works. All right, 3D Max is coming in here. Sometimes this works, and it is working a little bit. So you got to pick your battle. Which one is more important to you? Sometimes you have to do this. And then what happens if I Control J that bad boy and overlay it? Just try blending mode at 50%. It doesn't look too bad. Is that light in color? Let's try that. It's not too shabby. Alright, let's check it again. Of course, I've got the gradient on the wrong side of the gun. Alright, so we just do Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal. Alright, so let's try that again. There we go. So now the gun's on the same side. I've got a bit of a reflection color in here. So it's actually working out. I'm very, very happy with this. Okay, so now I just got to deal with this bad piece over here, which I think is this right here. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to go ahead and grab this muddy color, and we're going to make a new fill. Let's go ahead and take this one, and we'll go ahead and do edit fill there. Now, I know one is for the elbow on the left arm and one is for the elbow on the right arm. So I just filled them both in. Hopefully that'll take care of it. If I have to make it even darker, I will. But that's just a bad unwrap job. And to be honest, I can fix that pretty quickly. You know what? Let's just go ahead and fix it. Here's how we can fix it. So we're going to cheat. I have to call you back, sir. All right, because we are almost done here. So what polygon are you? Perfect. So what we're going to do, we're going to zoom in. Let's put my pen down for a moment. We'll zoom in, hit 1 on the keyboard, and we're going to break these lines. Break these lines. Actually, we'll just break the whole thing. We'll restitch it. Okay, and here's how we're going to stitch it. I'm just going to do one of these and do stitch selected. Stitch. I want to keep my triangles. I just don't need the edges of the triangles, the connecting edges. I know this is going to look very funky for a moment. Just bear with me. The only time I would ever condone this is if you're doing such low poly work that the UV overlap just doesn't really matter. Alright, so now we come over here to our gun. Let's stitch this. That's exactly what I want. Right there. Alright, and then we'll make them all even. Making all the points nice and straight and even. So they all have the same gradient information. Just like this. Straighten it all out. Now, look at that. Look what happened there. Fixed my gradient issue, didn't I? And the only thing is this spacing doesn't really feel out very well. I don't really care. It's going to be, it's not going to be seen from too far away. You know, back up over here. And as you can see, by the way, just as a side note, I tinted the inner cannon a brighter color. I wanted it to be a bit of a contrast between that and the gradient out here. Alright, actually I might make it a bit more brighter. Actually, I think I should go ahead and do that. So let's match the brightness here. Let's go back to the arm cannon. Let's make a new layer on top. And I'm going to go for an opacity gradient here. G for gradient. Make sure I have this saved, and I do. How do you guarantee that this stuff stays saved? Well, you can hit save over here in the color palette, or you can just restart Photoshop without it crashing on you, and it'll work. Okay, so by the way, that's how we do this. Nice gradient there. And we can crush this a bit and bring it down to the end. Okay, save as. And there we go. There. Okay. So the arm cannon's done. So there's the end of that other mucky color that I had. So which is gonna be that up there. And this is over here is the hand. So we'll deal with that in a little bit. Alright. So is there anything else that I can do? I think he's got back vents. Let's go look at the reference board. Yeah, he's got back vents. I used to have those. Looks like I failed on saving my other file. Let's look at the front vents. Are they in the right spot? Underneath his eyes like that? They're supposed to be moved over to the right a little bit more. Let's see if I can move those vents. So that means there's another layer with vents hiding somewhere. There you are. So now that that vent's on another layer, I can simply come over here and paint in, stop it, paint in this area, this nice shade of bleu, periwinkle blue. Control D maybe? There we go. This is where my vents are. Face vents go to the right. Whoops. What happened there? All right, now I'm not too concerned about, you know, what's happening over here with this blue. I just want to make sure the vents are in the right spot on his head. Actually, that probably looks about right. They're more next to his eyes now than they are anywhere else. Much better. Say, like, if you look at the bottom of the iris, the melanin, and then the bottom here. So you gotta be moved up. Just see how that looks. Okay, I'm only going to spend a little bit more time on this than I have to, because I've got other more important things to do, like make money today. Woo! Yep. Now, also please pay attention. I gave him more melanin than I did inside of the drawing because this is going to be very difficult to see from far away. So I wanted to make sure his eyes pop in that regard. And I'm just going to bring his vents down a little bit more. I think it's important for me to bring him down just a little bit. It's okay if they're close in proximity, all right? They're fan vents, they're not eye vents. Let's bring them down a little bit more. And I think we can call it a day. Actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and get rid of the blue outline here. There we go. Look at that beautiful vent. That vintage. Bam, baby. All right, now let's check the back vents. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines on his back. Okay. So that means we're going to switch over here to the back of the character. All right. And we're going to make a new folder. Saving this. Back vents. All right. And we know that they're black. So we use eye for eyedropper tool. And we're going to make them approximately the same size. Okay, now these dead center vents are actually wider than these are. So I'm going to try and mimic that. So U on the keyboard. All right. Whoops. Of course, they're not that thick. Let's try to make them 2 pixels thick. Let's go for something like that. All right, 1, 2, 3, right? And so we'll just copy them again. So that's 5 and 9. One more game. And 10. Now, the spacing obviously isn't correct because, ooh, you know what? Maybe they are. All right, let's go ahead and divide, open it up with 1 more pixel apiece. Let's see what that looks like. The wider that they are, the easier it will be for the player to read and make a distinction that these are different vents, because the tighter that they are, it will look like one fat black line running down his back, and we don't want that. All right, so let's go ahead and get this. Got 1 more to do. This is actually looking very fabulous. All right, let's look at this back. Now, because this is split his back, it's actually going to look way longer than probably it needs to be. But I'm okay with that. We'll adjust it. Let's go look at him around the back. Okay. How are we doing? Let's look at him here. Okay, it looks like it might be up a little higher. It looks like his bottom ones are falling in the right spot. So I'm going to go ahead. No, I was going to move them up, but you know what? This curvature here and this right here, this seems good. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll just go ahead and divide this a little bit more than half. And we'll move it over. Whoa, Alt, move. Maybe something like this. Let's see what that looks like. I want the middle ones to look larger than the outside ones. Okay. Maybe they're not long enough in total. Okay, the gap between the 2 sets have got to be wider. So let's go ahead and make those wider. You know what I can do is I should be doing something very smart, which would be, let's just bring the reference in. Where are you? I'm going the wrong way. Oh, look, they're not even in a line. They're offset. Let's figure that out. I'm just going to go ahead and copy half of his back. Let's do something like this. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to find where the bottom of his pelvis is and match it up to the top of his head, which is about right here. All right. There we go. Maybe a little bit more, something like that. So now I know approximately, look at that, man. I was like almost dead freaking on. Dead on. Woo! Love it when I'm close to being right like that. Man, that's money. Whoops, wrong layer. Let's go like this. Now the length, I am intentionally leaving off. I don't want that. I don't want the lengths to match, but I am going to move it down because I did feel like that was important. All right, so let's leave that alone. And this is color palette. Turn that on an accident. All right, and let's see if I can do a quick bevel and emboss, but check messages. Okay. So let's see if I can do a pillow emboss in here or something to make this look pretty cool. So let's do bevel emboss. All right, it might look funky over here on the mid section, but that's all right. We'll get to that. So bevel emboss. So let's just go ahead and make them the right colors. I don't like using these defaults. So make it bright blue there. We'll make it dark blue there. Inner bevel. Am I on the right layer? No, I'm not. That's why. Copy, clear, paste. There you are. Go down, but pillow emboss. Maybe up. See, I like the outer section. So here's how we deal with that. Let's just focus on getting the outer section done first. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and put this at a 90, something like that. Maybe a little bit over to the right. There we go. Okay, so that's the first layer. So we can just copy this, just basically Control J, all right, and then hit clear, right? Just right click and hit clear. And then now we have our vents. Easy as pie. Okay, so now we just got to get that circular rivet section in there. So let's go ahead and make a rivet. Rivet. I'm going to make it a little bit larger because I want it to show up. There we go. That'll look nice. We'll go ahead and make it the regular blue. Okay, so we'll put it edit fill here. And let's see what happens when we take our bevel emboss. We just paste it right on top of the rivet. All right, and then we can do change the size maybe. So instead of a pillow, we can just do inner emboss. There we go. So that's a good start. This overlay here. We'll go ahead and put this one on the other side. All right. Look kind of cool if we do that. Let's turn off that thing, and we'll go ahead and we'll put this in a group. Okay, and we'll make a new layer. And we'll actually grab some of this highlight color. We'll put some of this reflection down here at the bottom. Maybe get some brighter white. What about my smudge tool that I asked for, please? There we go. Kind of not liking that too much. It's that sharp angle. I might have to just do it myself manually. What happens when we get clear? Maybe something like that. It's just not apexing high enough here. It needs some of this, I think. Let's go back to a hard brush. I think that's part of the reason. Oh, I was on hard brush. All right. All right, let's go with that. Maybe I sharpen it up. Yeah, there we go. I don't know where that came from, sorry. Let's move this up a little bit. All right. And we got to be careful too, because that doesn't exist on the other side of the head. Okay, so how we can deal with that, instead of just deleting it, we can just run a mask on this. All right, simply by doing this. All right, there's a little button down here. It's called Make Mask. Just select the area that you want to keep, and then don't hit delete, but hit that button, and it'll make a mask for you. Nice mask. Nicey nice. Okay, so the pinching is happening. My wife, she would say pinch. It's pinching too much, which means we got to move it over, which means we got to remove some of that mask. I can't believe it's almost lunchtime already. Maybe one more time. 3 pixels seems like that's a lot, but you know, just don't lie. That might be the best I can do, and I can definitely move these over a little bit because it's cut too short, and I've got the room. So let's just move this over 1 pixel. All right, let's move this over 1 pixel. All right, let's check it if there's anything else that I'm missing. Maybe I can go a little wider. What's the vents doing there? Nope, that looks right. All right, let's check that. Okay, and what about the pelvis? So let's go check the reference. Pelvis, I got a bit of a gradient over here too. All right. So how do we do that kind of gradient? You know, I don't really have much of a color palette over there. So what I can do is I can kind of brighten it up a bit. So if I come over here to the original, oh, I actually have a pelvis layer. I have a belt layer, don't I? I do. So let's just go ahead and group that. Call this a belt. Control V. All right, Control click, and you know, I can just paint a little highlight. Let's put a little highlight right about there. Paint another one a little bit right here. I think it's a good first step. Okay, second step. Let's just merge that down. All right. Second step, that wouldn't be a bad step, is just simply painting in some blur blend right here at the pelvis area, and then maybe right there too. So what do I mean by a blur blend? So let's go grab the smudge tool. Oh, of course I didn't use smudge. Dodge tool. Okay. Maybe something like that. All right. And then this over here. Right. This is a little hint of something, right? And then I can grab some of this nice darker color. Maybe this will work, you know, and then just put a little bit, something like this. Maybe even a little bit for you. And then blend that together. Just to give it a hint of something. Let's put something darker in there, you know. And you guys can do a whole heck of a complex list of stuff just by adding smudges here and there. All right, let's just see what that looks like. It's probably not going to look too great, but you know what? Again, it's going to be seen from far away. For those of you rendering stuff to sprites, oh my god, this trick is going to be phenomenal for you. It'll find the average and do it right. So look at that. That belt looks really nice. And then we can come over here to the side. Not half bad, mate. Yeah. I'm down with that. Let's just see what that looks like. It's a bit naughty. Just painting that in manually. And paint that in manually. Get rid of that. And just paint this area in manually. And we can get rid of all of this excess up here. Alright. Go back to smudging again. Just a wee bit. There we go. Okay, I'll take it. Alright, now let's get some other quick gradients in here. We can get it on the Canon. the quick part of the cannon right here. All right. Cannon joint. Fan blade wasn't turned on, so let's make sure that's on. Okay, that goes. I'm not sure what you do. Oh, you're here. Okay, so I don't know what you do. Turn these highlights on. All right. Now, we've got this piece. This is going to be an arm joint. Arm joint. Man, I really need to quit, but I'm having too much fun. And that's the problem with doing texturing for me. That is a problematic position to be in. Okay, let's grab this highlight color, except we'll put you over here. All right, we'll blend you with this color. We'll put this one over here, and we'll grab something very dark. Put that there. And this will be about 30%. This will be about 70%. All right, and then we'll go ahead and do a G for gradient. And of course, we're gonna have this nice thing. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and grab it this way first, because we know that this layer is gonna have to happen, right? And so what we'll go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and save this to our color palette, all right, just like that. But then we also know we have to do this, you know, yet again, just like we did last time. And we'll go ahead and do this. I think we had to do it twice. Yes, okay, that's what it's showing there up above. I was looking here. This has got to be at 50%. Okay, that's good enough. All right, we'll go ahead and go from here to here. Okay, and then how we did this last time, if you remember, we went 50-50, 50% here. All right, except not on the opacity, right, but on the layer. 50% here and 50% here. And then we also took the gradient below layer. Now what did we do? I think there was another mode that we spent. You see, this is why we keep all this stuff. It is light and color. Yeah. So let's just give that a shot. Yeah, there we go. Sweet. Oh, and the other thing too is I didn't hit just G for gradient, right? It was like that was my mistake for this for the quads. I need this layer back, and I need to do G for gradient. I need to use. Oh no, it was cylindrical. So what did I do wrong here? No, I did it right. Interesting. What did I feel like it is? Oh, maybe it was because I didn't do it in the middle. Aha! There we go. Hello. You had to show up somewhere. Cool. Excuse me. All right. Nice. Very beautiful gradient on that arm joint there. I really like it. Okay. Honestly, guys, that arm joint's pretty done. I don't know why that didn't wrap right. Oh, probably because I didn't check the unwrap here. And yeah, that's why I used the edge here. So this is actually a really easy fix, guys. So there's two ways to do it. You either adjust it here or you adjust it in the unwrap. So we're going to try adjusting in the unwrap. Maybe I can get a quicker result out of that. Unwrap. Okay. And we can just go ahead and select all of this, turning on our diffuse layer and basically pulling this aside like this and going down to the bottom right hand corner like this, and that should do it. Yeah, it's what we call good enough, because a player, again, never going to get that close. Okay, about something like that. Airman's starting to shape up here. Just got to get the gradient on his arm and then start painting his hand in. So I think that's where I'm going to leave you. Oh, no, I got 15 minutes. All right, let's just try to do this in 15 minutes. And I got the bottom of the boot to do. Okay, so if I hit G for gradient, right? Did I save this? I should have saved this in the palette. There it is. Okay, so let's grab this palette and go from dark to light, which is there. That's what we want. Okay, and we also need to make sure, I think it's that piece. I think it is that piece that makes the difference here. We're gonna grab this color here. Let's just not guess and just figure it out and be honest with ourselves. Hopefully I wasn't stupid, put it over there. I really don't want to have to paint that. Oh! Big mistake. That's where knuckles go. What was I thinking? Well, I can move it. I should move it. Let's move it. Let's definitely move it. And we can definitely get it to fit in the right spot. Let's just blow this out. Break. Break. And we can stitch them up. Stitch. Except it's flipping backwards. Let's get it to fit the right way. Why is he making them so big? Tools, target weld. All else fails. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for the blue dot that's right over here in the adjacent dot, essentially, and stitching everything up. Yes, everything's coming to a point, one in the middle, right? We'll get this one back over here. But that's not to worry. What we'll do is we'll just point them in the right direction. Just like this. All right. And we'll go ahead and line them all up like this. All right. Get them all in a straight line. So now what I'm doing is I'm just evenly spacing these things out. I'm using the center line because the center line doesn't lie, right? That's why it's called a center line. There we go. Let's just get it off the edge. And believe it or not, it's going to be a bit tricky to get all of this information in here. Now I'm going to re-render this out. I'll show you why I actually make this into a folder. Alright, so render it 256 or 256. Alright, so here's my new piece. Right, and then I can just test. Save it as a Targa, so give me the fullest resolution possible at this size. Let's bring it in here. Okay, Control A, Control C. Let's go up to our folder, Control V. Alright, so as you can see, it gave me a brand new unwrap over here for the arm. Okay, so I can actually hit Control, like just W, and hit delete right there, and it'll delete all the black area out, and essentially leave me the new normal map, new area against the old area. Or I can do essentially this. And then delete. There we go. So I've got the new and the old, right? So now all I have to do is worry about what's happening over here on this fist. And of course, now if we look at the fist itself, if I could just go ahead and collapse this back to an editable poly, right? Get rid of that unwrap. You can see the gradient shall be fixed. Oh, I didn't save out the new texture yet, so let's turn that off. Bam, baby. So there's the new fist. All right, 1151. Let's see if I can paint a fist on this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best to get my viewport canvas to work. Viewport canvas. Let's see if this works. This is something I don't really see very many pros use. I mean, nowadays they've got Substance and all that other stuff. But my point is, this is something that, you know, Max built a while back, and I use this to kind of like guide myself. Okay, so basically I'm making that little configuration, right? So okay, so there's the back of the hand. So now let's rotate this so I can see the knuckle area. Left, F3. Let's try zooming in. Oh, left. Flatten layers, continue painting. Why can't I continue painting? No, I just want to continue painting. Fine. Another test. I don't know why I can't just get back to this. Okay, whatever. Let's just try to continue to paint. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I guess this is why people don't use this thing. Like, I'm clearly... There we go. Goodness gracious. I don't know if I can erase. Yeah, I can do all that. Okay. Man, it's been so long since I used this. Oh, that looks ugly. Come on. That's cool. Showing me where the knuckles are. I still can't paint. Why? Why can't I paint? Can you just let me paint, please? Okay, so that's cool. Thanks for letting me paint finally. Can I do erasers? I can, but it doesn't want me to, so let's try this. Okay, so this is bottom of the pinky, curls around, does one of these things. Why can't I get this line right here? There's just not a lot of pixels to paint in this area. All right, let's try bringing it back a little bit. Looks really ugly. Trying to show that for myself when I go back into Photoshop to erase that out. Okay, that kind of works. No, that doesn't work. Man, I really wish this eraser would have worked. Nope, that doesn't work. This is a mess. This is actually turning out to be a big, huge waste of time, but you know, I still got to show you guys. I still have to give you guys options, but you know, you got to do the best you can. But anyways, I would never leave it like this. Like what I'm going to end up doing is going back into Photoshop and just editing the deuce out of this and trying to make it feel right. Okay. So this is the pinky, right? And this is the next finger. This is the next finger. This is the thumb. Let's try coloring this. Show a distinction between the other parts of the hands. Right? And then this is also thumb. Oh, I see what I did. Like that. There we go. It's actually starting to feel a little bit better to me. So I'm just kind of blocking out like where I kind of see the thumb moving at, right? And what I can do, and I think this will help too, is using a different color to identify every finger. That will help tremendously, I do believe. All right, and then moving this. Right, so the habit was doing this. And then also, let's just go ahead and do something like that real quick, just to identify with where these fingers are. You know what? Let's use a darker color. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just kind of coming up with new ideas on how I can identify this in Photoshop, right? So I use a darker color for the bottom area. Well, we just use this extra dark color. There we go. This way I know where the lighter colors are and where the darker colors are. Okay, and then we'll use... What color can we use for that? Maybe gray. And then lighter gray for that. Okay, and lighter blue. Of course, we can do black as a separation. Whoops. Alright, it's 12 o'clock. I really need to wrap this up, guys. Lighter gray. Stay with the light gray on the finger. Okay, so let's go back to light green again. Light blue again. That's gonna be something to dissect when I get back into Photoshop. I tell you what, that's gonna be a chore. But you know what? It's gotta happen. Alright guys, I'm about to end this podcast. Thank you guys for joining in today. Still got one more to do. Probably do it after I eat some food. You know, you can't expect a whole lot out of 256 pixels. I mean, you can, but you can't. It's like you gotta really pick your battles on where you're putting your time and where you're putting your pixels. So this might actually come to something here. Okay, so now how do I get out of here? You know, the idea is that you could paint all of this on a separate layer, right? But you don't have to. Just hit File, Save, right? And then, so this is my new test. So now when I go back over into Photoshop, I've got this. This is its own layer, right? So I just put this in here like this, and I'll grab just this section, right? I just hit Control J to make a new layer out of it. And I'm just going to shift drag it into this folder, and I don't want it in the unwrap folder, but we'll just put it in the ARM folder. All right, something like that. I don't need it to open anymore. And then all of this gobbledygook, I've got to sort through it. And to be honest, it isn't going to take that long. So if I do image adjust hue saturation, you know, I can just drop the saturation on it. I can kind of see what I need to do there. But what's also more important, if I control click it and I do select color range, excuse me, and I just grab the blacks, Control J, right? So now I have just the black areas that I need. And I can hit E for erase and just erase all of this extra stuff. All right. Let's get rid of all of this extraness. So now I'm kind of like back at the beginning again. And you know, I can drop the opacity and I can use my line tools. If I hit U, I can just start drawing lines in here, and I can just use it 1 pixel at a time and just kind of redo my line work. And this will actually help a lot. Let's do something like this. Now you got to be as, you know, close as you can, and just know there's going to be room for error, and it's okay. We're doing the best we can. Alright, and then we can go like this. Go like this. We're going to see how well this does here in a moment. But as you can see, it's not taking that long to like retrace over your steps. And it's not going to feel very intelligible to us right now, but you just got to trust the work that you did. All right, and then let's get this little section out the way. Now, if you don't want, like as I'm drawing lines, right, I'm getting some feathering occurring. If you don't want that, what you can do is you can turn off anti-alias, all right, and you can also move into your pencil brush, but as you can see, like it's already made a difference. Anti-alias is the thing that's going to give you the feathering. Okay. Alright, so let's just see what this looks like now. Let's turn off the layer underneath again. Let's just see what's going to happen. Now when I go back into Max, viewport canvas should still be turned on, so I got to turn that off and disable it, otherwise it won't update. All right. Just reassign our material. All right, why aren't you working? Viewport canvas is still on, so here's how we deal with that. I'm going to do a save as real quick. And save this number 3. And reopen it. I ain't got time to screw around. You bastard. Alright, what happened here? View image. Okay, it's still overwriting. It's still pulling the wrong file. So file, save as. I wonder if I overwrote the wrong or incorrect texture. Or maybe I didn't overwrite it at all. There we go. So now we're checking. Okay, so it is working, right? You just gotta clean it up. Just do the best you can, you know. This is a really low poly model, and what will help is if I just adjust the geometry here. All right. That helps out a lot. Okay, so, but I'll leave it to you. Hope you guys have a good afternoon. Shalom.